improve our health outcomes, we also have to talk about what we drink, because that is a huge part of it, especially in North America. I grew up drinking lots of soda, and as I've aged, I've realized that I don't love it. You know, we drink it because it's chock full of sugar, sometimes up to 10 or 15%, when there are other things that are more healthful for us that we could be drinking. And for me, lots of those things are fermented. Kombucha for me is something that everyone should know how to make because of how simple it is, but also for what it offers you. I've made kombucha from everything from mango pulp to coffee to passion fruit juice, you name it. Today we'll be making a hibiscus and jasmine tea kombucha. So on the stove, we have about 7 cups of water coming up to a boil. And we're just here. We're going to add 3/4 cup of sugar. The bacteria, the yeast are going to consume it, turn it into other molecules that your body will find useful and fascinating, and you lower the sugar content drastically, often by half or 2/3 by the time the kombucha is done. Now that this is up, we're going to cut the heat and toss in our hibiscus flowers. That was about 3 ounces. And our jasmine tea. That was 1 ounce. And I'm just going to give it a stir and allow it to steep. Once it has steeped, we're going to strain it off and then allow it to cool down to room temperature before we start working with it. We're just going to strain it. Deep red color again, a tribute to all of the healthy antioxidants and molecules in the tea. It's important to understand what mechanisms are at play to ferment kombucha at all. A SCOBY, what this is a symbiotic colony of bacteria and yeast. That's what that acronym means. The microbes literally build themselves a little house, a little life raft that floats to the top of your bottle of kombucha and brings them into contact with oxygen. If the bacteria is healthy and your kombucha is fermenting well, you're not going to have large quantities of alcohol. Generally, kombuchas will be between 0.2 to 1% alcohol. Now we have our preservation jar. Just going to transfer the now cooled liquid. It's important that while this is an 8-cup jar, we add 7 cups of water to start off with. One of the tools at our disposal for the safe fermentation of this ferment is acid. We need to include a sizable portion of previous kombucha to lower the pH down from what's neutral, or the pH of water, at around 7 to around 5.5. We're going to give the microbes responsible for making this ferment a leg up while keeping out pathogens. Kombucha is unfortunately one of those ferments where if you don't have old kombucha, you cannot make kombucha. I would not recommend using kombucha you buy from a grocery store. Sometimes those kombuchas are pasteurized to improve the shelf life or make sure that they don't change. Remove the SCOBY from this kombucha. Here it is in all its glory. Looks a little yucky, really isn't, is quite fantastic. And all of the new kind of threads and strands it's made. And we're going to measure out about 1/2 cup of this old kombucha to add to our new batch. In with our old kombucha, we've instantly lowered the pH. In with our old SCOBY to give a nice healthy dose of that inoculum. And as it ferments, it will kind of become this big fat disc the longer it lives and breathes. Now, as I mentioned, kombuchas do need to breathe to ferment, so we're just going to use a piece of cheesecloth to keep flies or pests out, and we're going to leave this on the counter for anywhere from 6 to 10 days, depending on how hot it is in your surroundings. You know your kombucha is ready to be bottled when it tastes pleasant. And sure, the first time you make it, you might not know when it tastes good to you. But as you get more acquainted with this ferment, as you make it a couple of times, you'll figure out what you like. In my opinion, if it is room temperature inside your apartment or your household, leaving it on for 7 to 8 days is kind of the sweet spot before bottling it. We're just going to strain out any last bits of the kombucha SCOBY. And now that we have that, And using a funnel, we're going to bottle it up. Now, it is frothing because even though this is open to the air, the yeast and the bacteria in this product are producing carbon dioxide. What we're doing here in bottling it, especially in a swing top bottle, is we're gonna trap that gas inside. But you also do want some headroom when you do bottle kombucha so that that gas has space to build up before carbonating the actual liquid. If it was completely full, you might end up with some nasty explosions in your fridge and some big messes to clean up. So always leave a little bit of headroom. Here's a batch that's been hanging out in the fridge for about a week. Now, the longer this sits in the fridge, the more that residual sugar will ferment and build up, but it still does have a nice little bit of bubble, a little bit of head, and when you drink it, it's pleasantly effervescent on the tongue. It's like a vegetal red wine. It's completely balanced, delicious, complex. You taste the notes of jasmine, the hibiscus, and the tannins from all of those polyphenols as well. This is something that I would absolutely love to drink with dinner, and something I would want to savor. Cheers to that. Humanity's relationship with microbes, especially as it pertains to food, is one of a well-tuned and long-lasting ecosystem. Old friends that have grown up together, like lichen and trees, or oxpeckers and elephants. There's the sorts of relationships that pop up in nature, symbioses, that see both parties, or all parties involved, thrive for longer together. And I think that as we kind of have lost fermentation in favor of mechanical preservation or pasteurization or convenience in ultra-processed foods, we've kind of forgotten these friendships in nature that we've crafted, that we've taken part in over thousands of years, over evolutionary history.